Okay, I'm working on my bigger Resident Evil thoughts, TM, patent pending, etc., etc. But I wanted to do something to get something a little more timely together now that I've had a chance to play through and watch through and generally fuck around and find out in Resident Evil Village. I did my first blind playthrough the day that Village released, streaming the whole way through. Then I watched my husband abuse the infinite grenade launcher on his hard mode run. Then I started figuring out Mercenaries mode and getting absolutely destroyed in the unlockable extra hard mode. You know, the one that changes around item and or enemy placements just to fuck you harder right when you're feeling confident. That one. So, yes, 5-second review here, I love it. Oh, that was even faster than 5 seconds. Big surprise, I love a Resident Evil game. I should have made that one of my predictions to really fit in with the other milquetoast easy guesses. Speaking of which, what I'm explicitly, textually here to do is look back on my February predictions and see how close I got. Now, as I just mentioned, they weren't exactly the most balls to the walls out there predictions ever, so don't expect me to reveal myself as Nostradamus here. Instead, we're just gonna dive in head first. And of course, this is full spoilers ahead for what happens in Resident Evil Village. Prediction 1. Resident Evil 4's Jewel Collection mechanics are back, baby! This one was an unqualified success, but I also admitted right up front that it was pretty much confirmed common knowledge at the time I said it. Just putting in a merchant was enough to signal, so I'll take the points, but I'm not exactly proud of this one. Prediction 2. We're getting some nonsense Vampire House vs. Werewolf House rivalries. The last game ripped off Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so why not rip off Underworld this time around? In addition to Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. This one's another no-brainer. This one was a very mixed success for me. I was pretty much wrong, but with a lot of qualifiers, we didn't ever see vampires fighting werewolves. You could call it a failure on those grounds alone. What I knew beforehand and what we wound up seeing was a definite rivalry between our stewardess of vampires, Madame Dimitrescu, and the most prolific monster builder of the game, Herr Heisenberg. In fact, it turned out that Herr Heisenberg was in more of a faux rivalry with the lady of the house, and even worse for my prediction, he didn't wind up having anything to do with the werewolves. Does he call on Lycans to attack Ethan? Yes, many times, but it turns out the creator of the werewolves was our resident, fishman? Creature from the Romanian lagoon? We'll just call him Moreau. I was inclined to chalk this one up as a success because of the rivalry stuff, but the game does its best to never show any sort of interspecies conflict among the enemies. In fact, it goes out of its way to not care that its bioweapons are vampires or werewolves, except to give them each fun visual distinctions among each other. So, let's call this an unqualified wrong guess. We'll probably get a file or two explaining how they found a unique strain of the T-virus that descended from wolves or something? I don't know. Now this is the prediction I feel safe calling a mixed success. We definitely got a file or two clumsily explaining the existence of the enemies, and it is indeed connected to wolves. But instead of a T-virus or Plagas or Ouroboros virus being directly connected, the culprit this time is an entirely new collusion between a sentient fungus and a fetus-looking thing they decided to call Kadu? Yes, there's a lot of similarities between the look of Plagas infections and this Kadu thing, but they've gone out of their way to canonically distinguish them. They even mentioned Spencer and his work on the progenitor virus in a last-minute reveal, but that connection was pretty weak, and boils down to, "Hi, I'm Oswald Spencer, remember me? I like your work, crazy village people." It's not exactly the kind of strong callbacks to the beginning of the series like we got with Resident Evil 5. Prediction 3. Lady Dimitrescu is going to stalk around like Mr. X and Nemesis for at least some of the game, and will probably make you shit your pants. Ding ding ding! This was another no-brainer, but I couldn't quite confirm it would happen until we got to the full game. Sadly, Lady Dimitrescu isn't around keeping up the tension for quite as long as Mr. X or Nemi, so it didn't quite live up to my expectations here. That said, what time we had dealing with the tall lady and her invincible daughters made for some really tense, riveting gameplay. Just after beating the final boss of the castle, I thought I knew they would bring her back again, despite, the murder, but sadly I was wrong. Prediction 4. We'll get to play as Chris at some point. This one's another unqualified success, and where we get into real endgame spoilers. So, if you care about spoilers, what are you still doing here? Go on, get! Okay, now those of you who are still along on this ride, I get to talk about the game's climax. You wind up getting speared through the chest and having your heart crushed to a pulp as Ethan, while you're on the phone with Chris. As a result, Chris is filled with a righteous thirst for vengeance, and character perspective shifts over to him and his blue umbrella squad of agents. You then get a chance to mow down wave after wave of vicious lichen threats, digging your way to the heart of the problem and planting explosives in the repository of all mold, the metamycete. What I didn't see coming was Ethan, shrugging off his exploded ribcage and getting right back on his feet afterward to complete the true, final battle against Mother Miranda, and then rescuing his daughter and getting to be the big damn hero, even though Chris was right there and ready to finish the job without him. What a roller coaster, man. Prediction 5. Most vampire powers, like teleportation, are going to turn out to be hallucinations. This is my other qualified success. I was completely wrong on which powers were hallucinations, but completely right that we'd be getting another big hallucination run. They reserved this for the second house you deal with, House Benviento, which starts out with some hazy images of Mia beckoning you into the fog. It turns out the frightful hallucinations this time around are a lot scarier than just a little Ringu girl, with a mega fetus chase that I will always truly remember. Prediction 6. Ethan's and Mia's daughter is either a hallucination or a bioweapon similar to Evelyn in RE7. This was probably my vaguest possible prediction. In what world do you get to make your predictions in either or? Come on, man. Nonetheless, I'm gonna take a victory point here, because Rose's bioweaponness is essentially the entire basis of this game's plot and the driving force behind Ethan. Did someone say, plot? Ethan and Mia got together, had an evil baby, probably caused by the infection from the last game, and evil conspiracies swept in to isolate and manipulate Ethan and pull off some Metal Gear Solid type bullshit. If there's no grand conspiracy that relies on dozens of people to act completely irrationally or pull off impossible feats of strength, then people just aren't interested. Alright, seriously, full stop, I'm just going to narrate what happens in the game's story, so last chance anyone who still thinks they're going to play this game unspoiled somehow. To give y'all a brief overview, the game's plot can be summarized thusly. Ethan and Mia have a baby, who it turns out is the bestest mold creature ever. Mold baby's name is Rose. The three of them are relocated by Chris and Blue Umbrella somewhere near a cursed village in Romania that's been forgotten by time. That village is run by an apparently immortal lady, Mother Miranda, who first discovered the source of all mold, or the megamycete, and who has sort of controlled mold creatures ever since, but tucked away in this remote village. Oh, also she's a shapeshifter. It seems like all her time in the remote village has been spent doing human experiments with the mold, and also with a parasite that may or may not also be made from mold, and she's trying to create the perfect vessel to bring back her daughter, who died of the Spanish flu. Except sometimes she took a break from all the torture and experiments to entertain Oswald Spencer as a house guest, and then she took a vacation to help develop the E-Series bioweapon that caused the events of Resident Evil 7. Because all the mold is connected by a psychic mold network, Mega Mold Lady, Mother Miranda, knew about Ethan's super mold baby Rose, and she snuck into Ethan's house at night to kidnap Mia, but not kidnap the baby for some reason. She then replaced Mia herself, shapeshifting, and had a pleasant evening with Ethan, until Chris and his Blue Umbrella folks showed up and shot her a bunch, all without telling Ethan anything about what was happening.
I know it's too late now, but we really should have told Ethan the plan.
There wasn't time. We didn't expect Miranda to act so soon.
Even so, you should have told him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Chris didn't count on Mega Mold Lady being basically invulnerable, like, all the other big boss bioweapons in the series ever.
Taking 5 shots to the head's nothing to sneeze at either.
Miranda made her escape with Rose, chopped Mold Baby into 4 pieces, and gave those pieces to the 4 lords of the village. Only those lords aren't really lords and are just people that Miranda kidnapped and turned into bioweapons with her special mold parasite. And then she set them up as lords, completely unrelated to the village's 4 original founders, which they also sort of talk about as being lords.
I don't want to be a part of Miranda's family.
Neither did I, but here we are!
Anyway, Ethan collects the 4 pieces of his mold baby, puts them all together in a big statue that's kind of chalice-shaped, so they call it a chalice, and gets murdered for his troubles. Ethan then comes back, after his murdering, because it turns out he's basically been mold the whole time. And who needs organs anyway? He then steps in to stop Miranda's bizarre and completely inexplicable ceremony, where Rose gets turned back from specimen jars into a baby. Miranda is weakened for no obvious reason, gets killed by Ethan, then comes back, fused with the Megamycete into a big flower-looking thingy, and gets exploded by Ethan. Mold baby Rose grows up to be a totally normal and cool superpowered teenage girl. Happy ending, fin. And the father's story is ended. So, with that totally bonkers plot in mind, I think I got it, right? Right? Well, tell me what you think. No, seriously, tell me what you think. This game is fresh enough. I'm thirsty for hot new takes. So let me know what you think down in the comments. And look forward to my analysis of the new Resident Evil formula in the near future. As always, thank you all so much for joining me.